I am pleased to do so, not least because Hindu supremacist forces have violated my academic freedom. But before I explain how my TEDx talk was canceled this past summer and the threats faced by a conference, a very important conference this coming weekend, I want to start by saying a little bit about my own family. My great-grandfather, H.R. Gurva Reddy, was part of the national liberation struggle against British colonialism in India. My grand-uncle, K.C. Reddy, was a leading figure in the struggle for independence in the state of Karnataka. When India ended colonial rule in 1947, he went on to become the first chief minister of Karnataka. The house I grew up in has a portrait of the framers of the Indian Constitution, and my great-grandfather, who is featured in that photo, would regale me with stories of what he and other members of my extended family had done to secure a free and democratic India. So I grew up from an early age learning about how India was formed as a sovereign, socialistic, secular, democratic republic. And this is what we were taught in civics lessons as well. And we took democracy, free speech, secularism, and other such values seriously. In Bangalore, where I attended school, we had a plurality of religious groups who all studied together: Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, and Parsis. In fact, it was not at all uncommon for young people to have good friends from various religious groups. My family and extended family are Hindus, but we had and continue to have close friends among all religious groups. This is not to say, however, that anti-Muslim animosity didn't exist or that religious groups were not pitted against one another. I don't want to present some sort of golden age free of conflict and repression, because that was never the case. However, there has been an alarming move away from secularism and democratic values over the last 3 decades, thanks to the advances of the forces that promote Hindutva. I want to state very clearly that Hindutva and Hinduism are not the same. Hindutva is a political philosophy that draws on European-style fascism of the early 20th century. Its goal is to create a Hindu nation. In this, Hindu supremacists are not unlike white supremacists in this country who want to create a white nation. Hindutva is deeply casteist and racist towards all religious minorities, particularly Muslims. There are, by the way, over 200 million Muslims who live in India. Let me also state clearly that criticizing Hindutva is not anti-Hindu or Hinduphobic, a baseless term that is used to silence critics of the BJP, the ruling party, and its various supporters and affiliates. While South Asians do face discrimination in the US and elsewhere, this is not because they are Hindu. I say this as a scholar of race and as someone who has spent a considerable amount of time studying race and racism. Now, this past May, I was invited to give a TEDx talk on Islamophobia for students at the Manipal Academy of Higher Education in Karnataka. My talk was based on my book, Islamophobia and the Politics of Empire. I was going to talk about the concept of race and how anti-Muslim racism functions. The students who invited me were eager to learn about this topic. However, almost as soon as they posted the event on social media, they were barraged by threats from Hindu supremacists. To be clear, the talk was not about India or the BJP, but apparently even mentioning and discussing Islamophobia was just too much for these forces. I was smeared in social media and called a terrorist. And even though the students who were organizing this talk wanted to carry on with it, and they were supported by faculty as well, the Vice Chancellor canceled the talk. I am also here to speak on behalf of the organizers of an academic conference titled Dismantling Global Hindutva, Multidisciplinary Perspectives. I will be speaking at this conference and was invited to attend a meeting this past Sunday to hear from conference organizers about the threats they have faced. The conference organizing committee includes a list of professors from the US, the UK, Europe, and the conference itself is co-sponsored by more than 70 academic departments, centers, institutes, or programs from 53 universities, including Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Columbia, UC Berkeley, the University of Chicago, the University of Pennsylvania, Rutgers, and many others. In spite of the strong academic coalition, the conference has been subjected to overwhelming attack, both in India and in the United States. Fringe groups have placed immense pressure upon universities to back out of the conference. The line of attack has been to falsely characterize the conference as anti-Hindu, even though conference organizers made it clear right from the start on the website that they are critiquing the 100-year-old fascist-inspired Hindutva ideology. I was informed by organizers that Hindu supremacists have bombarded university servers with this disinformation, sending close to 1 million emails to presidents, provosts, and other officials at co-sponsoring universities. At Drew University, for example, the servers registered over 30,000 emails within a few minutes. And of course, universities have not succumbed to this pressure. This disinformation has had no effect. In fact, not a single co-sponsor has backed out of this conference. Professors and administrators across the world recognized the bullying for what it was, were informed about the facts, and rejected the pressure. Electronic attacks on the conference have included attempts to shut down the Eventbrite registration page. The Facebook page was shut down, but organizers are working to reinstate it. The conference website was taken down for a period of 2 days, and there was a successful attack on the conference email address, shutting it down for a day. In addition to this, conference speakers have been threatened and intimidated on social media. You will be hearing from my colleague, Professor Audrey Truschke, who, while not being either a speaker or an organizer of this conference, has received multiple death threats simply for tweeting about the conference. In short, the tactics honed in India to destroy academic freedom, as Professor Apoorvanand outlined just a few minutes ago, are now being deployed in the United States. In India, the conference was attacked on primetime television shows run by known far-right Hindutva-affiliated news anchors. They have claimed that the conference is funded by everyone from George Soros to the CIA to other foreign governments. Another claim was that the conference was designed to support the Taliban. Subsequently, far-right fringe groups were mobilized to attack the speakers of the conference. One such group is the Hindu Jana Jagruti Samiti, an organization known to have been involved in the murders of intellectuals and journalists such as Govind Pansari, Narendra Dabholkar, M.M. Kalburgi, and Gauri Lankesh. They have also written to the Ministry of Home Affairs in India asking for state action against conference speakers. We are deeply concerned that all this misinformation taken together will be used to incarcerate those who speak at the conference, or worse, inflict bodily harm. As a result of these threats, some speakers have understandably withdrawn from the conference. However, the vast majority, I understand, have said that they would continue with their presentations. Ironically, the attack on the conference by Hindutva forces has demonstrated why it is so necessary and so important. I am here to emphasize the alarming and serious threat that Hindu supremacists pose to scholars in the US. This is not only a threat to free speech and academic freedom, but also a threat to the safety and security of these scholars. I therefore urge Congress to take seriously these threats to academic freedom and to protect the scholars who have been threatened and intimidated by Hindu supremacists. Finally, I want to say that if my great-grandfather and granduncle were alive today, they would be deeply saddened by what India has become. Thank you for allowing me to speak.